Welcome to the Any Given Chance podcast. Stories about passion and sacrifice. What actually goes on behind the scenes in the consistent chase of everything. We're going to bring you some untold stories. Some of people you know, some of people you don't. These stories that we bring on with our guests are nothing short of inspiring and will get you out there chasing your own goals as well. Join me, your host, 3am 365, Matty Brumby, as we dive into these incredible stories. And of course, as the podcast grows, so do we together. So stick with us from the start, hit that like and share, subscribe button, get your family and friends involved, and we'll see where we are in 100 podcasts. No days off, no excuses. Boom. Matty Brumby.
Nice to meet you, mate.
How good. I'll let you introduce yourself, okay? So to just tell the people and the listeners out there what you've done.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, yeah, so Matt, it's all good. Last name's Brumby, so that's always been a bit of a, Australian thing, especially when I was in defence. The nickname was Horse, so we can either be Grommet, as growing up as a surfer, as you have. Story, we'll just go quickly and then we can go back at all. Grew up in Tassie, little surfer on the coast, and then I was always on the water, and then I was in the Navy Cadets for a fair few years, and my old man had an accident when I was young. We ended up getting like a mini payout, and Dad's like, right, you're not going to year 11 after year 10. We're going around Australia in a mobile home. Let's go. So surfboard, rollerblades, little mobile home, off we went, and we got nearly halfway around Australia. My sister had a baby, and then Mum's like, we're going home. So then the next thing, Western Australia was a blur, mate. And come back, and then we get home, and Dad's like, what are you doing? I'll get a job. Yeah, you will. You'll get a job. So ran into a mate of mine. I said, what are you up to? He's like, I'm going to Navy recruiting. I'll come along. And while I was there, the guy said, oh, yeah, might as well do the interview while you're here. And literally it was like 36 days later, mate, we were signing the dotted line, and off I went, a little 16-and-a-half-year-old, joined the Navy, and then everything was great from there. Like, I'd never regret joining the military, and we'll get to that. But I met so many people. And then the cool surfing that I got to do as a kid going around Australia just expanded. I met 3 older guys that were mid-20s, and that was it. It was Grommet. I was, 17 at that stage, and then they took me everywhere through Victoria. And then I got my first posting to Nowra, and then that was it. Whole coastline of where Nowra is, from Bennelong and all the way up and down Jervis Bay, and that was it. The boys are like, right, we're taking you. So I just had this amazing experience of everything was the ocean, everything was the water. Then, went to sea for the first time, got to travel, went to Hawaii, through Indonesia. Didn't get to surf because I wasn't there long enough. And then, I was training to be a Navy diver. I was like, I want to do something else. I didn't like the job I was doing in defence. So I'm like, I want to do better. I want to do something. And then you have to do an acceptance test to be a Navy diver, and it goes for about 14 days. And, so we're doing beach sprints one night, mate, and I ended up collapsing. I got up off the ground, tried to take a few steps and fell over again. This isn't right. So they took the weight off me, and the boys made a bit of a joke about it, and here's the Oxyviva. You might need this to keep running. Yeah, dropped it. Couldn't run. And then the instructor, who was a really good mate of mine at the time, said, all right, sit back, told everybody to keep going. He sat me down, and, he just looked me dead in the eyes and just said, mate, you're back. It's way too important. You're too young. I'm taking you off the course. And then from there, that was Friday night. I was pretty heartbroken. All I wanted to do, for 3 years, I'd been trying to get back on this course. And I thought, all right, what am I going to do now? And then, so Saturday, I really struggled to walk still. Something was going wrong. I rang a mate of mine on the Sunday and said, I have to move my motorbike. It's parked on the wharf. It's not allowed to stay there. And the ship, we're sailing for a 4-month deployment. So meet me out the road. I'll drop my motorbike at your place, and then you give me a lift back to the ship. It's like, yeah, sweet. About halfway through the ride, I've just blacked out and ridden off the road, went down over an embankment, and woke up paralyzed from just below the chest down.
Hectic. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mate, like I said, I know what you've achieved because anyone out there, just Google Matt Brumby's name and you can see after this accident what he has happened. But like I said, I wanted to keep it raw. Mate, that's massive, being young and that whatnot. Let's just touch base and then we'll jump back to the beginning and go back to the beginning. After that, and this is why you're
you're on the show is because you didn't take no for an answer, and mate, you've gone out and smashed records. So just let everyone else know what you've achieved after that.
In sporting wise, realistically, it's getting to captain the Australian team for the Invictus Games is right up there. I have 2 world titles for Ironman. So I have the 70.3 world title that I won in 2016, I think it was, when I missed out on the Olympics. So I was trying for what they call para-triathlon at the Rio Olympics. A little bit of politics, to be honest. Competing, doing pretty well. Just got in the top 10 in the world. I missed out on going to a world championship, so I slipped outside of that. And then they ended up taking the top 10 to the Rio. I was pretty heartbroken. I realised that there's got to be something. So I thought, you know what? Let's have a crack at a half Ironman. So a half Ironman's a 1.9 kilometre swim, a 90 kilometre hand cycle, and then a 21k race chair or run leg. So I started training for it, and then I qualified for the World Championships. So I travelled to Luxembourg in Europe. I came third at that race, which qualified me to race in the Sunshine Coast, funny enough. Came home, won that event. That was my first world title. After that, kind of had a bit of a really big hole. There was this, everybody talks about having a high in your athletics or your career and then having nothing. And then what do you keep to keep you going? And, you'll be able to attest to this from being an athlete that there's got to be something that you do to fill that void. Mine, literally, mate, to be honest, was PlayStation for a year. That's it. That's all I did.
Did you get good at it, though?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I was broke financially. I was broke physically. I had an injury that I just couldn't. I just kept going and going, and then you had this mindset of that's my goal and I'm getting there. Well, there's so much other stuff that needs to come together to help you get there. Yeah, and I didn't understand that at the time. Then the Invictus Games came around in 2018. I applied, being ex-Navy. Made the team, which was amazing. And then not long after, I got asked, would I be the co-captain? So they have a male and a female captain of the team. I was shocked. I was like, it's my first games. There's great, amazing soldiers here and ex-defence personnel that have crazy injuries. I had a spinal injury, but I didn't break anything. I had like 4 breaks in my cheek and 2 ribs. That was it. I had no broken spine. I didn't have broken arms and legs. And I'm looking at military vets that are battle CAS that are in helicopter crashes in Afghanistan. They've been blown up in Iraq. And I'm like, these guys are like literally not just a physical injury. How do they mentally go with that? And so I kind of struggled for a little while. Do I really need to be here? I'd been in a wheelchair for about 18 years. I really started to struggle. And then when I got asked to be the co-captain, I kind of realised that I have a different role. It's not just about what I'm going to do competing-wise. It's what can I give of 18 years of having a spinal injury and travelling the world and, racing para-triathlon. I worked on a farm for 4.5 years. I started to get my pilot's licence. I still ride motorbikes. I've got, I had a jet ski. I've got a go-kart. It's like you've just got to what can I give back to people? And then I got a whole new lease on that side of it. I was like, okay, now.
And you wouldn't even known that's where you were heading while you were doing those things. You were just doing those things. And I think, looking back on it now, you go, wow, I've put it together. That's why they selected me, because I have this background. And yes, with that background, you can show everyone else along the way that it can be done. So, mate, it has been a journey. So how old are you now?
41.
41, young, strong.
Yeah.
And you were up here because you were going to do the GC Marathon.
I was.
And obviously I was in that as well, and it got canned. So you're up here training from living in Adelaide, is it? Yep. And, all our plans are on hold at the moment, isn't it?
Isn't it? So, COVID. So that was the thing. I moved to Adelaide from Tasmania. So after I competed at Hawaii, I went back. I was like, right, I need to re-qualify. I want to go and do the full Ironman World Championship this time. So I went to Cairns, did the half Ironman there, won that, which gives me a slot then. There's only 4 slots in the world for hand cycle athletes to compete at Kona, the be all and end all. And, you've stepped up from a 1.9K swim to a 3.8K swim. You've gone from a 90K hand cycle to a 180K hand cycle and a 21K run to a marathon. And Hawaii is it's hot, it's hilly. And so I originally came up here to train to Tweed Heads, an amazing couple and a really good mate of mine, Peter Rudland, who's the ex SASR and 2 commando guy that was in a helicopter crash. And having him as my support, like we just bounce. He'd go a little bit faster. Oh, you know, a little bit faster.
I got that, mate.
You know,
he's my best mate, Nordo, Cody Norton. I know you're listening, bud. And yeah, if he did 40 dips or whatever,
You're doing
41, and then the next week he'd be 42. But best mates for life. But they're the people in your life that actually help you get, you know, where you're going and whatnot. So
nobody can do it on their own.
no.
I mean, there's certain parts of your mentality that help that, but the best part of doing anything is doing it with people and having somebody that if you're having a bad day, you're not doing a good training session, they give you the nudge.
That's
and the
right.
real mate will give you the nudge.
That's
and
right.
say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right, let's go. Come on, get up.
Yeah.
Let's-
I've had him call me a pussy in the game as well. In the game of footy, he's like, "What are you doing? You're running the ball like a fucking pussy. Like, get in there." And I was like, "Oh shit, am I really? I thought I was going all right." All right, sorry, sir. Hammered again, but mate, yeah, that's it. You
can't
need
do
those
that.
people in your life.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if you don't have them, you're going to be lonely. You know.
So you guys are pushing each other. You're heading towards Hawaii then.
Yeah. So let's do it. This is the plan. We'll get over. And then I had another really good friend of mine. His name's Neil McCallum. He's an MBE. He's an Olympic boxer from the UK. Came out to Australia. He's in the Australian Army now. And those two together, like Neil was always, there's a plan. Everything's written down. I wish I could have brought it for you. He literally has the piece of paper that he wrote. Every day we did something in Hawaii and he gave it to me. And at the top of it, I get the thing, it's the making of a world champion. And I went to Hawaii to finish it. I don't care about winning. It's just making Hawaii is amazing.
Yes,
Saying that you've competed the Hawaiian Ironman
is nuts.
That's what I wanted to do.
If people who are listening at home or who don't know what we're talking about, the Kona is basically the be-all or end-all of ultra, triathlon, marathons, everything rolled into one in Hawaii in some of the most crazy hilly landscape with, you know, hot weather and everything. It's the test. It's the ultimate test that people and anyone in the marathon or triathlon sort of community knows this. But anyone else out there, just Google it, look it up, and then be shocked pretty much and go, oh, okay, yeah, you're an animal. So heading over there doing that.
Yeah.
How'd you go?
Yeah, good. So I originally was like, if we can finish, I'm going to be a happy man. And then we kind of said, look, if we can get around 12 hours, then I'm going to be coming home the happiest guy ever. And I ended up going 11 hours, 53, I think it was. And, I won by about 26 minutes or something. So, yeah, it was good. Like, out of the water, I'm kind of like, because I was racing with a really good mate of mine who's Jason Fowler. He's done the event 6 times. He's won it twice. You know, this guy's is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Jace? Like, he should be here with me right out of the water. The poor bugger didn't have the best day. Off the bike, again, the boys are like, Jace is an hour behind, mate. Like, seconds about half an hour.
Take your chance.
Just cruise. All you got to do is get it done.
Yeah.
And then the big thing for me was I just enjoyed the day.
Yeah.
I wasn't stressed at any point. I wasn't trying to race anybody. And I think sometimes you don't need to race anybody. Just race yourself.
That's exactly right. And I have been a massive component of being too competitive, going into a race, trying to run their race. I'm new to the sport of running and I'm doing all that, but just from being competitive in rugby league and doing myself a number. And I think that if you concentrate on yourself and all that, results sometimes speak for themselves.
100%. And you've said it again, the fact that you don't need to race somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what they're doing. You don't know that they might pop with halfway to go because they've gone out too hard as well.
Correct.
Well, they're pushing you to go out too hard. Well, for me, I train specifically with watts. On a hand cycle or an able-bodied cycling bike, there's wattage meters that tell you how many watts you're creating while you're cycling. So I knew leading into Hawaii, I could ride at 100 watts, 6 hours.
Yeah.
And if I don't go over that, I'm not going to pop. I'm not going to use too much energy. I've still got a marathon to go. Okay, cool. So every time I saw that, I was like, just calm down. But you feel good. I feel great.
Yes.
Hawaii, it's a beautiful day. I'm passing people on the downhills. Like, so a hand cycle flies on a downhill. Like you take off. On an uphill, a little bit harder using your arms to get back up. So there was one lady, she was amazing. Every time we go up the uphill, she'd be like, how are you doing? And then on the downhill, I'd be like, hey, I'll see you on the next uphill. So this went on for about 30 kilometers or something. So that makes that 30 kilometers go, it's gone. Next thing you know, okay, cool. Now I'm at halfway. I'm on the way home.
Yeah.
Right, this is easy. I'm coming home. Let's go. And then had a really good mate of mine who's a Anthony Bonacassero. So he was an ex-tennis player in a wheelchair. He's won a bronze medal at the games. And so he and his wife came over with their new daughter. And twice during the event, they were on the side of the road, just screaming and, you know, like, and then at the 150K mark, he was out there again, you know, in the middle of the day and hot with his, and they're the things that make it. Like, I could hear him screaming as I go past, and I was like, hey, Bono, I see it,
mate, I couldn't believe that about the running community and the triathlon community and whatnot. Running my first one the other week, that people just come there and cheer. They know what you're going through, and they're just like, you go, you're like, do I know? You don't know? You just liking watching me being in pain? Thank you. Like, how good's this? Like, and that was my first event. I've never been to an event or anything like that. I didn't understand it. I go watch rugby league games. I either blow up because someone's done something wrong, or, you know, you're angry, or because there was a disappointment or drop ball, and then you're euphoric, or you're down, or you're that. You're not just, there was never any, wow, let's go camaraderie for everyone there. And that's what happens at these events, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they line up.
Yeah.
And I'm sad you didn't get to do the Gold Coast Marathon. It's an amazing event.
Yeah.
I did it the year I went to Hawaii because I'd never pushed a marathon in a race chair. I needed to know whether I could at least do it or what I was going to feel like.
Yes.
And the people are just everywhere. And the same with the triathlon. There's so many people on the side of the road spectating. And then you get into the finishing chute of Hawaii, you can't hear anything. And these people are there for hours.
Yeah.
Like, from the time the pros finish around the 8 hours something, to the time the last guy finishes at just under 17 hours, they're there.
Yeah.
And they're screaming for that last whole mile going into the finishing chute. And it's an amazing feeling. You feel no pain in that last mile. It's just the voices push you on. Then you go up over the finish line and you're like, oh.
How good's that? Fall down, but you're just still on that high. And then the next day you go, oh, that's a bit sore.
Oh, sore, mate. I couldn't move. Like, the boys had picked me up, put me into the shower that night.
Yeah.
Picked me up out of bed the next day, picked me up and put me in the car.
Wow.
It wasn't until the next night that I could literally start to push myself in my chair. My arms were so fatigued.
Wow. And yours is, like I said, a normal one is full body. You're going hell for leather. You're swimming, it's all arms. Your bike ride, it's all arms. Your chair, it's all arms. Oh, it's not all, it's all core and everything like that. But you're relying on those suckers to get you through. So, wow. Were you picking up food? Could you eat food?
Mate, not for that first night. Yeah, I was shocked. Like, and they had enough. The next day, they're like, nah, I'm not doing this.
I don't like you anymore. Go away.
And the only reason I got out of bed the second day was because it was a drop. Gravity's my friend at that stage. I kind of lined my wheelchair up and I'm like, and I was in. The boys like, you're all right. I'm like, come in my chair.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. So, wow. So just a quick one before we go back to the start, because I want to know, growing up all the way to here, it's like I said, from what I've seen and what I know, sensational story. How much do you burn through doing something like, how many calories? Like, what do you reckon you do to your total body? Are you up in like the 10s, 20,000 calories? Because I know a marathon is probably about 4,000, 5,000 calories. You'd be,
it'd be
with a swim and then a bike ride, you'd be up around the 15,000.
Yeah, I'd have to have a look. And look, one of the cool parts about this was the day before, when you do the whole check in and sign in and they do a race briefing, one of the guys said, he goes, this will be the easiest training session you've ever done. And I clicked and I was like, He goes, no training session can you carry all the food, all the water and everything that you're going to have access to on the course.
Yeah,
so every 18 to 20 kilometres on the bike leg, there's an aid station. And so you replace your water, you replace your food. For me, the big thing was cooling down. So being paralyzed from just below the chest, I'm at thoracic 6, so T6, I only sweat above my level of injury. Below my level doesn't sweat. So if my legs get hot, they're super hot. If they're cold, they're super cold. So my heater and radiator is my chest and arms and my face.
Okay.
So in Hawaii, when you're in, super hot days,
humid,
windy, and then you're laying, 6 inches off the ground in the lava flats, you're cooking. So I was constantly water over my face, water over my face, water over my neck, just trying to keep my core temperature at a level where I could perform at what I knew I could. But that second you start to either burn a match when you've used a bit too much energy on a climb, or you feel your heat starting to rise a little bit, then you just got to back it down. It's a long
You gotta
day
listen.
out there.
You gotta listen.
It's a long day. You've just got to. And then when he said it's the easiest training session, I'm like, he's right. Every training session you do, you want to get through.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You've always got to have a goal. Goals are amazing. But the goalposts can change. Mid-event, you may be struggling. So, okay, look, don't keep the goalposts at the same place because you're only going to struggle more.
Yeah.
Bring the goalpost back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my new goal. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a little bit worse. Sometimes you may be feeling a bit better. I might push that goalpost out a little bit at the end of the day. How am I feeling? And then when you get into the run leg of it, there's one part they call the energy lab, and they call it that because there's an old energy lab there, but it's the sucker of all yours because you've just gone over halfway in the marathon, you've turned around, and now you've got to climb out of there. And it's starting to get that last bit of the day. You're starting to get a bit hot, and you're like, right.
That afternoon sort of, wow. And then you got to get out of there.
Yeah, yeah. And so
you got to leave something. You got to know to leave something there. Yeah,
and on the very final climb of the day, I had my head down and it was just starting to get dark. So I pulled my sunnies off and I tried to put them inside my helmet and I dropped them. And I just thought to myself, this is funny because I had a conscious thought of 200 pair of Oakleys, Ironman world title. I'm going to leave them. So I kept, and by this stage, mate,
you actually were thinking that. I'm going to get them. No, wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm literally grinding like, push. I'm like, once I get up this hill, it's all downhill to the finish. The next thing I know, I could hear this. I'm thinking, what, someone's catching me? And I look back and there's a guy, one of the spectators is running with my
bullshit, no way.
Hey, mate. I was like, oh, mate, you're a champ. So he runs beside me, sticks him in my helmet for me, and I was like, thank you.
You legend.
Yeah. And then turn the corner. Right, and there's a fast downhill. You know, 60 odd Ks an hour. I'm tucked in.
No.
I was like, oh, this boy just literally ran up and gave it to me, and then I've lost them.
Yeah.
Like, right, and then you turn that last corner, and from there you just then the emotion starts kicking in. You know, you've been on the road for 11 hours, 50 whatever by then.
Yeah, you're out of everything.
Like I'm gonna win. Like
wow,
this is like wow. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, Able-bodied, get out of my way. Oi. And so the finishing shot's narrow, and I'm pushing fast now. Like energy's kicking, people are pushing you, and you're like, I'm going. There's the finish, and then these two guys are running, and they're obviously stoked. They're finishing an Ironman, and I'm coming flying up behind them in my race chair. Like, hey! And I've punched the guy in the leg, like, get out of my way, because I didn't want to crash, you know. And then, another guy was literally standing in the middle of the thing as I've come up and over the little rise. I was like, hey, mate, like,
watch out.
So I nearly collected
move it or lose it.
3 people in the last 100 metres, you know, and I was like,
and they're all battling as well. They're all out. They're like, oh no, oh what?
And then this dude comes past, like, wait.
Yeah, hang on, what's going? Wow, mate, that's what a journey it must have been to be that and then get that win. Like, oh, crazy. All right, let's dive back into it because I know. You spoke about it there, loving growing up surfing, growing up down in Tasmania. Mate, how'd you get into the water down there? Because it's fucking freezing. Oh. It's freezing down. You were speaking about it just before. 4 threes is your minimum wetsuit.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some great swells over the other side, Shipsterns and what was the other place you're talking about?
So Cape Shank.
Down
at August, like in Bruny Island.
Yeah.
But then on the northwest coast, if you head out to Marrawar, it's just ocean, mad ocean swell out there. When it's
big, cold, and the swells come from miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and hit those.
Yeah, and then you go down the east coast where it's a little bit warmer. You may get away with a 3-2, or on a really sunny day, you might take a springy out if you're crazy.
Nah.
But the swell down the east coast is more like here.
Yeah,
always a bit smaller, maybe not as powerful. But the west coast is like, if you want to go surf some pretty mad surf, you either go down south, down at Bruny, or you know, Shipston's now has become a bit famous. But all the west coast, when you go down and you surf Marrawar or anywhere down there, it's just, and like first 2 times you go surfing, because we used to go swimming and all the time, so you're kind of used to the water anyway.
Yep.
And then when I found surfing, I was like, oh.
Who introduced you?
Just a random mate had a real old school 20 in his backyard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what are you doing with that?
How old?
year 6, I think I was, the first time I got that board.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I was hooked day one, paddling out, having no idea. I knew nothing about surfing. I was a good swimmer as a kid. So I had that, I could paddle, but I had no idea. I remember the first few times I surfed, I was surfing whitewater. Like, you're not getting out past it. You've got no idea how to duck dive. You've got no idea of anything. And I'm telling you about that first duck dive in Tassie sometimes when it's cold. Ooh. Talk about ice cream headache. So I just remember surfing down at Cape Shank, actually, and I'm like, wait, this is, you couldn't get out. So it's way out there. But so you just surf in the white water and then eventually you get a little bit better and then you find other people that are surfing that are a lot better than you are and then they start to, and it's normally always someone older.
Mate, isn't it? We were speaking about this, the surfing community, especially growing up around our age group. That's how you learn to surf. Someone had a board of an uncle that was sitting under a garage.
That's exactly
not these days. These bloody 3-year-olds have got custom shaped boards for their weight and all that design out there now. No. I had to basically beg, and I come from a surfing family, you know, I just had dad's boards and they were like 610s and all that. I'm like 3-4 years old, tucking them under me wing, this big thing like that.
Brilliant.
Running down the beach, and the same thing, and all my mates would come raid whatever board we could get our hands on. There wasn't none of this there. But that, and then once the older guys, you know, the teenagers or the older guys get you in the surf community, it'd be like, all right, we're doing this trip, you coming? And you go, Dad, we're going down here, down on this, go jump in the go, I need $20, please, mate. Yeah, all right, go on, easy, $20, give me his number. Well, he did not give me his number, there was no numbers there, just, jump in the payphone and, you know, home dial me when you get down there, make sure you're right. And that was the surfing community. Everyone trusted everyone to do, you know, and you just all looked out for each other. Growing up on the Sunshine Coast, mate, there was no 4-3 wetties up there. There was board shorts 90% of the year. So we're very lucky. But that's what I just wanted to make that point that that's how you get into surfing, isn't it?
It is. And like, you're exactly right. It was a board laying. I had no idea. And my best friend at the time's like, I'll go and find a surfboard then. Yeah. So his family went and found some board, and I was like, damn, he's got a twin. He's got a Costco. I've got twin fin, and then I'm like, right, I need to get a job. Yeah. I need to work. So I did Friday night paper runs. People don't even know that, mate, but used to deliver a paper on Friday night, right? Yeah. So I did that. I sold programs of the football on Saturdays, and every cent I had was ready to get it. Like, and then another mate had a board that he was getting rid of. And it's like, right, can I pay it off? Yeah, all right, Gromit. Like, so sweet, I'm paying a new board off. And then, Mum, Christmas and birthdays.
That's all it was. Yeah.
Can I put all my Christmas and birthdays together to get a new board? Like, no. But I really need a new board.
Mate, I think I had to mow, I think it was something stupid like 40 times before I got my first custom that Dad had bought me. And I'd try and mow the grass twice in a day. And he goes, no, that doesn't count. That's not 2. He goes, all you did was cost me more fuel. Like,
I'm going to reduce it.
Yeah, look, I cut it there and I cut it again because I was trying to get me custom. Obviously, Mum and Dad growing up, we had a house and everything like that, but we weren't by any means well off. And Dad, you know, 40, 50 hour week worker, Mum the same, looking after a couple of kids. So, you know, we had to wait for boards. We had to, you know, earn them as well. And, that moment, that first custom came through though, and you got to do your own spray. I spent like 3 weeks at home designing the spray on what I wanted on my board and how I wanted it to turn out. And of course, Tommy Carroll was about around then, and I was thinking about doing the same thing he has. And, you know, there was all these other ones. Kelly Slater was coming on the scene. So, but that, for me, surfing, that was the epitome of it as a kid. There was nothing better than, you know, growing up and all your mates coming in together and jumping onto that sport. So.
Oh, and then the new video had come out. It'd all go around VHS. Hey, kids, there used to be a thing called VHS, right? And you'd stick it in a big machine and so you'd all go around. Yeah. You wouldn't watch it once. No. You'd watch it 10 times over a weekend staying at your mates. And that's all you would, and then all you'd want to do was get up the next morning. So we had my birthday. I was 13 years old. I remember it. We were sleeping in the backyard at Mum and Dad's, all the boys. And we woke up at the crack of dawn, mate, and we're like, I think that's a swell we can hear. Yeah. And so we walked from one side of my town to the river, paddled across the river to the other side of where the decent surf was, and we just sat there and went, I can hear it. I can't see it. It's pitch black dark, but I can hear it. So we got a campfire. We always had fires on our beach, always growing up.
You need him. We fucking can't freeze.
So there was this cool old dude, and all we knew his name was Fritz.
Yep.
And he would walk up and down the beach, picking all the driftwood up, and he put it in a big pile. And then we went stupid back then. You didn't burn the whole wood. What were you there for?
Yeah.
Right? Make it like a real fire. Dig a hole, get it. Because you're going to be surfing all day and freezing cold.
Yeah.
Your 4-3s. And then I remember the first time you got your wetsuit with the little pocket in it. And then you put like a couple of dollars in it, and then you go to the shop and buy like $2 worth of chips.
Hot chips,
everybody.
Yeah. And $2 worth of hot chips would feed everybody.
Oh, yeah, it'd be this big thing, and then you just all day, or you'd buy a loaf of bread, and you just toast it, and then we just surfed all day. It was, but all night we were watching these videos, and it's like the next day you're so G'd up.
Yeah,
it's
you're
like,
pumped.
You don't care.
Well, you don't even make it through the whole vid. Halfway gets there, and you're just like out the door. You coming? And like one guy's like, "Oh no, like 10 more minutes or something like that." I'm out there. I'm gone. So yeah, mate, Tassie surfing. I don't know. So what other sports were you into growing up? Growing up down in Tassie?
AFL.
Okay.
So I played that all the way through until year 7, and then mum and dad like, you're too little. I was very little. I was a little kid, you know. They just said, not doing it. Like you're going to get hurt, you know.
Well, while the other boys are growing, you're not.
I wasn't happy with mum and dad for a year, I'll tell you. And that's when surfing really kicked off.
Okay.
Because I wasn't playing footy now.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to go surfing then. So it really took off at that year. That's why when you said what year, it would have been that year 6 or 7, really, because I wasn't allowed to play footy anymore. And then I kind of went away from sport for a while because I was just surfing, and that's all I wanted to do. I knew that I'm just going to travel.
Takes over your life, doesn't it?
And then mum and dad dad had his motorbike accident. Years and years later, finally, all right, bought a house. So originally, dad had his own little business, and one of his mates said, sell your trucks and your excavator, Brum, and come and work in the bush. And my old man had always kind of grown up being a bushman. You know, we'd always cut our own wood and all that stuff. And we went bankrupt. Dad, the guy he didn't work enough. So Dad, you know, sold all our gear to buy one big machine for the bush. And the guy said, oh, I only need to work 3 days a week, 4 days a week. I'm fine. I own my gear. Dad's like, well, I can't. I need to work 5, 6 days a week. Pay this machine off. And I need your machine. We've got to work together. Yeah. And then that was it. So bankrupt. Never forget that. But that's another. So then everything becomes harder. You know, that's why I need to get a job. I need to start, you know, mum and dad can't buy me anything anymore. I need to get out and get this done. Right. And so, but it teaches you a good ethic too. So then I started being a little cashier boy at Rolf Voss, it was called. It wasn't even Woolies back then. It was called Rolf Voss. And so I'm check out chicken and I'm selling the programs, and I'm trying to do anything I can to get money. I need money for surfing. Yeah. And wetsuits are expensive. Yeah. You know, like every other kid at school had stussy pants and cool shoes and all this stuff. Well, we went to the surf shop one day, and little beach beat, Teresa, she was always amazing. And we didn't have much, but she had a little set of Town and Country. The type of pants they were corduroy pants.
Corduroys, right? The cords,
so I had a pair of Town and Country corduroy pants, and Dad went and bought me a set of Blunston boots. Right, everyone else is wearing these cool, but it came back, mate. Like cords and blunnies.
Blunts, yeah.
Like
they rolled into town, thing, and only a couple of years later too.
Yeah, I remember that. So we only had it because that's all we could afford. And Dad knew the blunnies had lasted me all year. They're a good shoe. And Mum only bought me the pants because they were half price. Yeah. And
mate, it's funny you speak about that, about like going to work and whatnot. School wasn't for me. I've spoken about this a few times, but I tried to go back there in the middle there, and I was so focused on, you know, going back to school and then it just didn't pan out. But the moment I got kicked out of school, they're like, you haven't rocked up for a week. What have you been doing? I was like, I've been surfing. But they go, you can't have it here. I was that scared to go home and tell Dad I've been kicked out of school that I went straight in and I walked the whole main street of Clown until I got a job. And I went home that afternoon, and I was like, Dad, I was kicked out of school. He's like, what? I go, well, I've got a job. I start tomorrow. He's like, all right. That's all right. And I knew if I don't have a job when I go home, I'm going to get my ass kicked. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, because same thing, you know, we had to, by that age, 14 or 15 or something, you had to provide your own way. Yeah, you know.
100%.
So, but that ethic that you speak about, and I think surfing has a lot to do with that, because you had to scrape by to get everything you ever wanted. instilled in me in future, in the life, in coming down the track. So just surfing until you, 18, and you were speaking about that. You travelled, went and did a bit of travel and whatnot, and come back when your sister had a baby.
Yep.
So you're getting to that age, you've been around, you travel, and you come back home.
Yep.
Dad's done the whole thing, exactly like what my old boy did. Said, where's your job?
Yeah, what are you doing?
So where'd you go? How did this pan out from here?
Literally just ran into a mate that I'd been in the Navy cadets for years, and we grew up together. And he said, I'm going to recruiting, and I was like, you know what, I might as well do it. So originally I wanted to join the Navy as a cook.
So you always had an idea of joining it? Like, for me, I never would have thought about that, you know what I mean?
So the reason I did cadets was because our cadet unit was on the wharf. And every second weekend we'd sail. We'd go out sailing. Yeah. And sailing's awesome. And then we'd swim and we'd be doing cool stuff. We used to have a shooting range on the inside of our unit. We would shoot once every few months on the wharf inside the unit. Like, who's not going to love that as a kid? And so I didn't realise the difference between the Army and the airport, any of that.
Yeah.
I was shooting in the Navy.
Yeah.
So I just thought, and then I didn't really know anything. I got back, I was just over 16, and then so I applied. I was like, yeah, I'll go as a cook. And they're like, well, you need to put down a second job. And I said to my mate, what are you doing? He goes, I'm a steward. I said, what's that? He goes, you work in a bar. Done. Steward. And then so they ring me up and they're like, you can go in September with your buddy as a steward, or you can wait till January and go as a cook.
Yeah. I
was like, well, of course I'll go with my buddy.
Yeah.
He said doing bar work, might as well. Didn't mention the 90% of the job, which was horrible, but we'll get to that. Like, so, all right, let's go. So 3 of us, I was 16 and a half, he was 16 and a half, had another buddy from another unit, and we rock up in Hobart to do the whole sign in, join the Navy, swear in, and we climb out of the lift, and being kids, I've pushed every button on the elevator. We get out, some guy walks in, we don't know who he is. The next day, he's the officer that's doing the sign and stuff. It's like, I remember you 3 kids. I'm like, this is day 1 of my Navy career, and I've been pinned straight off the bat. And it stayed like that with me. It was like, I was always the one that was talking too much. I was always the one that was getting in trouble. But
or the one that always getting caught.
Yeah. Or owning up to it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
was always raised like that.
Yeah.
Who was the one that did that? Hand was up. And then people look at you like,
yeah, don't take me down with you.
He asked. Yeah. I was the one that did it.
Yeah.
And then, I met these really cool guys that were older than I am. And luckily we got our first posting together. So we went from being at Cerberus and surfing it all the way down there. It was just all the way down, surfing bells and everywhere. The boys all took me around. And then I was like, I'm getting posted to now. And they're like, so are we. We're going to HMAS Albatross. And I was like, oh, man, Pedro's coming. And Pedro was as a kid, this guy's older and was ripping. And it's, it was so cool to hang out with these guys.
Yeah.
And then when we got to now, he's like, right, we're going to Benelong for the weekend. And next weekend we're going to go down and we're going to surf big lefts. Currajong Point, I think it was called. My memory's pretty shocking these days, but Currajong Point, I think it was, big lefts and mad left-hander.
Yeah.
Aussie pipe, surfed that a few times. And then when the swell gets huge down there, you can surf in like Vincinia and Huskinson, like right on the inside of the bay. And it was just constant travelling. And then literally one of the ships one of the guys broke his arm and they said, the ship's going to Tassie. And then my boss at the time said, look, we'll send Matt. It's only a 6-week jolly. I probably wasn't ready to go to sea yet. Normally you've got to wait a bit longer.
Yeah.
But the ship was going to Tassie. I'm from Tassie. They're like, we'll just send him. 6 weeks, it's a jolly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to sea. Heaps of people weren't happy about it. They've been waiting for years to go to sea. And when you join the Navy, you got to go to sea. That's what you do.
Yeah. And
then that's when I kind of fell in love with the Navy, because being at sea is amazing. It's the best sunsets and sunrises you'll ever see, especially when you sail around all the places that we go. You do Southeast Asia, you do Hawaii. If you're lucky, you get to go. There's a ship that we went to China, but just seeing different cultures, sunset and sunrise is the same anywhere in the world. It just had to mean how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And you wake up in the middle of the morning and you're sitting out there having a brew, watching the sunrise over the ocean. When you work hard, when you're at sea, you're always doing something.
Yeah.
And then you get other roles. So being a steward is very bad for me personally. You're making officers' beds, you're serving them their meals, you're this lucky for these people that have no respect, really.
Yeah.
I mean this in a bad way. There's some amazing officers that I met.
But they're top dog. They don't have time to worry about you.
Yeah, and you're doing all their stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to be a steward. I want to do something else.
Yeah.
And so originally I thought, well, these good mates that took me around were medics. And I'm like, I got pretty good at that because I enjoyed it. I get reasonably good at something that I enjoy. If I don't enjoy it, I'm just never going to get good at it. Yeah. And so I liked medicine. It was really cool. And then I learned about underwater medicine. So people that work with clearance divers, and they do all the like the hyperbaric chambers, and they do all the stuff when divers have injuries or illnesses, or they have, they get the bends they get narked and, nitrogen narcosis.
Yeah, no, what is that? What is bends and narc?
Jump into that. Nitrogen narcosis is where the nitrogen bubbles in your blood haven't shrunk enough. And so you've gone down to a depth and then you've come up too fast, and the bubbles don't go back to being a normal size. So they get stuck and they can cause serious pain or death if they get stuck in the wrong place. And so they have a hyperbaric chamber that recompresses the nitrogen in your blood back to a level where it can be absorbed, and then they bring you up slowly. And I thought, that'd be amazing. So I went and saw the clearance diver on board, and I'm like, I think I want to work with divers. And he looked at me and he said, do you want to work with divers, or do you want to be a diver? I can be a diver. Yeah, I reckon that'd be even better. So you've got to start off becoming a ship's diver, which is all the basic stuff for a warship when you go overseas, or alongside. You do cleaning and you do, they teach you to search for mines under the ship, which is kind of funny because you wouldn't really do it. That's when the clearance divers would come in, but that's how you train. So you become a ship's diver, and when you're overseas, you'll put grates on in ports to protect your intake so you don't suck all the rubbish and stuff from a port in, and you'll do that. You'll do any type of cleaning. We had to replace certain probes on the ship that measure speed and stuff like that underwater, so we've had to replace that. We had big net that we ran over in the middle of the ocean somewhere, so we spent a couple of hours one day under there cleaning all that from the propeller and the rudder. Awesome. It's a great job.
So in the middle of the ocean, you're the diver.
Yeah.
Over you go. Yep. Go clean that out.
Yeah. And we had to replacing the log probe was pretty mad. It was a $60,000 piece of equipment that we had to take under the ship and invert ourselves to remount it. But I loved it. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a clearance diver. And they do all the cool stuff as well. They do the marine tactical operations, and they do bomb disposal, and that's the cool part of it. So I'm like, right, that's what I want to do.
Yep.
To do that, you've got to be pretty fit being a diver, and then they do an acceptance test that goes for 14 days. And if you pass that test, then you can go on the course to become a diver.
Yeah.
And I got injured.
Yeah.
They dropped a canoe on my back on the first one. I went for another 2 days, and then the instructor came and said, we want you to come back, it's kind of rare. You don't, these things, once you fail that or you get taken off it,
they don't give you that second chance usually. Yeah, it's like, no, it's not for you, mate. You just head down another path.
Yeah, yep. And they're like, you're young. I was 19 at the time, and they're like, we want you to come back. Just go and get your back sorted. There's 2 courses every year, and then just politics, defence stuff, little injuries. It took 3 years to get back on that acceptance test. And then that was when, the Friday night I collapsed on the beach carrying the weight on our heads. And boys took me back to the ship, said, don't worry about it, mate. It's all good. Just do something else.
So why did you collapse? What was this from that injury, the canoe?
This is the weird part about it's really hard to prove. And that's why I'm having a bit of problems with defence in this thing. But the neurosurgeons have stated that there's definitely a link between collapsing on the beach with running along the soft sand with a 10-kilo weight on your head. And my spinal injury is what they call a syrinx. So it's a pocket of fluid that has formed on the inside of my spinal cord. And what it's done is it's just put enough pressure on my spinal cord to paralyse me. And that happened while I was on my motorbike. So I'm riding in a dead straight line, and the last thing I remember is seeing a guidepost and then waking up on the ground. I'm like, how in the hell did I get here? And then the boys are standing over me, and I'm like, oh. And they're like, can you get up? And I'm like, no, I can't move my legs. They're like, it's all right. You've just had an accident. Just see how you're feeling. And it's like, man, my shoulder's killing me. They're like, yeah, all right, stop whinging. The ambulance is on its way. And then it becomes a bit of a joke, as you do in defence.
Yeah.
And then we're just kind of laying there and try to giggle a bit with the boys, you know, pulling the piss out of me. And then I could hear the helo, the helicopter. In the defence, you call it a helo. And it's like, I'm looking up and I'm like, oh, and then the doctor, she gets winched down and it's like, step, let's check it. And then having a bit of a chat. I said my shoulder's hurting and she's like, all right, I'll give you some pain meds in a sec. And, you know, you get winched up into the helicopter and then that's it. Matt kicks in. Talking to everyone, hey, I've been in a helicopter before, I'm in the Navy. It's like it's just a million miles an hour, mate. The pen train or whatever she gave me kicked in and I was like,
happy days, I'm good here. I'm good.
And then I get to Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney. The chick who was the head nurse there was my best mate's time, was his wife.
Oh, wow.
I knew probably half the nurses from nurse Navy balls and going out with them and having a bit of fun. And so that made it a bit personal. I feel a bit sorry for them, but it was hugely important for me because I instantly had a support network of nurses.
Yeah.
And then my mum and dad are just amazing. Mum was there the next morning and didn't leave me. I think the worst thing I've ever done is watch my dad walk in and cry. I've only ever seen him cry twice, and that broke my heart. Like watching the old man walk in, you know, staunch, just destroyed him.
Yeah.
But right from there, I was like, right, there's got to be more I can do. And there was 2 young kids in hospital with me, both 15 years old. I don't think they'd even, you know, had a relationship of any major type. They certainly hadn't ran amok for 6 years in defence like I had and travelled halfway around the world. And, you know, I'd run a bit of a muck. I was a bit like that.
Yeah.
So they had nothing. And I knew early days, I'm like, all right, I've had some type of life and I'm sure I can have more. And then this weird noise, every day I could hear this weird noise next to me. I'm thinking, is this guy like farting all the time? Like, and then one of my mates bought me a BB gun. So in the middle of the night, I'd be shooting everybody's balloons in the hospital. And then I'd quickly hide the gun away and like... So one day I said to the guys that were visiting the dude next to me, I'm like, hey.
How good's your mate?
I was like, here, I've got this gun. Does your mate want to have a go of it? Pull the curtain back and the poor guys are quad. So quadriplegics don't have function of their arms.
Oh, wow.
So he's 4 affected limbs. Turns out the noise I could hear was him... He couldn't speak. So to get the nurse's attention, not being able to move his hands or his legs at that stage was...
Wow.
The nurses would come up. So I'm thinking, this guy's farting all the time. And I'm
wow.
like, and then I'm trying to give him the gun. It's like, you can't use it. Oh. I'm getting worse. And then, you know, as time goes on, he got leg function back, which was really weird. One of his arms kind of started coming back a little bit. He was a water skiing accident, but the first thing when he could start to whisper, because he could only whisper, his voice box was damaged. He actually dislocated his skull from C1. So it's like the second person in the world or something, they said, that had ever survived it. And this dude's an Andy Farrell. He's amazing. So straight away, I'm like, man, I've got 2 good arms. I'm like mobile.
Yeah.
And Andy then would get around in a wheelchair with his legs, but couldn't move his hands at that time. And I remember the first thing I heard him say, mate, it breaks your heart, is his girlfriend, Emma, at the time, he said to her, you don't have to hang around. Like, you don't have to be. Like, it was this super whisper. They were on their own. I'm obviously right next to him in another bed, so I could hear it. And, yeah, they're still married today with 2 kids. And
what a woman.
Yeah,
you know, what a man.
That's the first thing he said to a mate. Like, and then he and I were just super close the whole way. When we went out to rehab, so you go from the acute spinal ward to the rehab. And he's got the bed next to him saved for me. He's like, right, you either do it. And then it was on the whole time, you know, Andy and I and that made it for me. I had Navy mates constantly coming to see me.
Yeah.
Another sad story. So a good mate of mine, Wes Hoff, made a video. He went around everybody on the ship while they sailed from Sydney to Darwin. And he's like, hey, you know, so my nickname, as I said, my last name being Brumby, was Horse in defence.
Yeah.
So everybody's, hey, Horse, hope you're doing well. You know, good luck. Hope you get a good recovery and blah, blah, blah. Like everybody. And so he basically walked around everybody on the ship. Oh, a spasm. And then they get to Darwin. The 3 of the boys had a car accident and he passed away. So I'm in hospital still. And I'm like, hang on a second. Wes has just passed away. I'm still here. There's these kids. There's Andy. Hang on, man. Like, what the hell? Like, let's go. What are we doing? And then that just went from there. First got out of hospital, moved to Ballina. I'm going surfing with the boys again. That was the whole idea. I had a really good mate of mine, Ryan Haley. He lives here on the coast now. a cool surfer from Tassie. He's like, right, living in Byron with his brother. I moved there on a cool little hill, just one step, so I could made the place accessible. And we'd go surfing again. Boys would take me out. And then ended up moving ran into a random guy who was friends with a lady I knew who owned a farm in a wheelchair. And he's like, come and work on the farm for a while. And I was like, oh, that could be cool. Yeah, so Peter took me under his wing. He was a fair few years older than I was, been in a chair for a while.
Yeah.
His wife left him, raised 2 daughters on his own, like with his mum and his sister's help. But, 18 months old and 4, I think, Miriam and Sonia were. And, man, I've just been fortunate that I've met these people that have just been amazing.
Yeah.
You watch this guy as a single dad in a wheelchair, raising 2 daughters that were amazing, and he's running this farm all on his own. And then he's like, right, I'm buying a new property out west in New South Wales, buying a bigger one. You want to come out there? And I'm like, hell yeah, this is awesome. So I'm working on an excavator and tractors, and like everything's accessible. He puts hand controls on the tractor and the quad bikes, and
anything can be done.
Oh, and then I'm out. I'm just loving it. And then he bought a bigger farm.
How old were you then?
So I would have been accident at 22. Yeah, about 23, going on 24.
Yeah.
And then
so you've come straight out of this, and like you said, surrounded by amazing people and that. Yeah. Was there any days sitting in there going, fuck, you know what I mean, battling that little man in your head? Like how, for you, it sounded like you got to work straight away. You were very happy with seeing those people around you who had less, and you made a choice. And we were speaking about this right at the beginning, was the power of choice.
Yep.
So that happened for you immediately?
Yep, and that was, at the time, was subconscious.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later on when, things started to go wrong, in a sense that I realised that sometimes that choice was made subconsciously.
Yeah.
Other times you've got to make it yourself.
Yeah, okay.
And the support network,
yes.
Defence guys are coming in all the time. Captain's wife and his beautiful daughter would come and visit me, and they were amazing. We're all still friends today.
Yeah.
And so I had this, and my mum, the most amazing woman on the planet, mate.
Yeah.
Seriously, and then I started riding dirt bikes again. I was the first guy in the world to hit a freestyle ramp and landed dirt. People have been doing it. We're trying to do it with Pastrana at foam pits. Let's do it, boys. We built a freestyle ramp. Never hit it one in my life. Let's go. Let's hit it. So we got videos of that, and I wanted to do cool stuff. I wanted to, and then I'm like, right, what else can we do? So Pete had a rally car that he'd raced. He had a cool V8 that he'd built that he was racing rally events on, and so we'd be banging around the farm with that. And then we had farm equipment, so we built a motocross track, and then we had just had toys. And then I started working for another guy who I met one random day. He's like, oh, you need to meet Andy, and he's a truck driver in a chair. I'm like, what? Yeah, he delivers swimming pools. And he's coming through Wellington. You should drive out and meet him. I'll go and meet the guy.
Yeah, see what's happening.
Instant click. He loved motorbikes, wanted to get back on a motorbike. I'm like, well, I've got a motorbike, and you're welcome to ride it. And he's like, I'm going to teach you to drive a truck. So I ended up getting my HC license through Andy. Started delivering swimming pools on the side of, I was renovating a house in Wellington, New South Wales, bought this little house, and Pete's lending me equipment because I'm working on the farm, and then we'd go and do stuff to the house, and he's like, yeah, look, go and work for Andy for a bit. And so we're delivering pools from Sydney to Perth and Sydney to here. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really think I want to deliver all the time, because I sit down all day, every day.
Yeah.
Being in a truck, we're just going to be sitting around. So what can I do? And he's like, well, we kind of need a new agent in Melbourne. Maybe you want to start selling pools. And I was like, yeah, let's have a go at that.
Yeah.
So, from that age of 23, when I kind of got out of hospital, and I'd worked on the farm with Pete for a couple of years, and then we renovated, and then another year or two working with Pete, and then a year transitioning in Sydney, purely doing deliveries of swimming pools. And trust me, it's amazing. You rock up with someone's swimming pool, they're super
They're
happy.
the happiest humans in the world, aren't they?
And then you throw this aluminium plank down, bang, and they're like, what? And then you throw a wheelchair out onto it. They're like, wait a second. And then you climb into it, and you're like, just give me a second. And then the lift goes down to the ground. You roll around. You're like, I'll just unload your pool. Like, do you need a hand? Oh,
No.
like this. Unload the crane, hook it up to the pool.
Mate,
Where do you want it?
Wish GoPro was around back then. You could have had that much footage of just people's faces just going,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. And then, so I said, oh, yeah, I'll start selling. So I moved to Melbourne, ran into a random dude who I'd met somehow on the internet. We're chatting. He wanted to know about riding motorbikes. He had a friend in a wheelchair. I was like, yeah, cool, mate. Next time he comes to Australia, they're American friends, He's like, next time he comes to Australia, bring him to the farm.
Yeah.
So we still had the farm. I could go there any time. And so a mate of mine, his name was Dominic, came over from the US. We went out to the farm. We drove, mate, from Sydney to Wellington, New South Wales, about a 4.5 hour drive. I'm like, I'll just warm the motorbike up, Dom, then you can jump on for a spin. So I took it up and down, and like bike's warmed up, all sorted, you know, gear changer, all the stuff on it. And then I'm filming, and I'm like, hey, Dom, first time back on a bike in how many years? He's like, yeah, I'm back on the bike. Rides off, down around the corner, over a bump, slips, full throttle, straight into a tree. 4 hours later, helicoptered him back to Sydney, and it's like, oh, man, right. Literally, it was 48 seconds, mate, down, around, hit a bump, full throttle on a WR450 that I had straight into a tree. Petrol burns all over him from laying in the petrol. We didn't want to move him, and he's like, cracked a bone in his neck. It was just,
oh man,
wow, all the way out, and then turn around,
chopper back home.
Yeah, then I'm driving back to Sydney to make sure that I get him in hospital. You know? And then,
thanks, Matty. Thanks for talking me into that.
Yeah. He was so keen, and then so ended up moving to Melbourne. And staying with a buddy of his who was a really cool guy, Jim. And then from there, it was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And another guy come over, and he's like, oh, I race triathlon. I'm like, you what? You do what? He's like, yeah, so come for a swim with me. And I'm like, what? I used to be able to swim. Don't know if I can now. So this is around the end of 2009, 2010. So I've been in a wheelchair for nearly 9 or 10 years, and I hadn't really done sport because I tried to do basketball when I was first injured.
Yeah.
And they were very bad back then. They didn't understand what a team was. And from coming from defence, and especially freestyle, which is a team, I understood how a team works, and that's not how it worked. And they wanted to push. They're like, oh, you're a high level para, which means you're a low point in basketball. Come back to Sydney and play. But I'm like, man, I've been in defence. I've been told what to do since I'm 16.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on a totem pole and my blindfold was taken off. So I'm going to choose where I go.
Yeah.
And that's not going back to that right now. But then the triathlon thing happened. Then maybe this is going to be an Olympic sport. So I was like, maybe if I get in on the ground level, I can kind of learn. And then my buddy who I was staying with got a new job in Switzerland. And he's like, dude, come over. It's accessible. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm in. And so I basically did an endless summer for a little while. I went from Melbourne to Switzerland to LA, back to Switzerland. And then that was it. Like I was training like a madman in Switzerland. I was racing. I was doing little bits, and I kind of got away with stuff because I was already in Europe. So Australia let me race as an Australian athlete because I'm already there. They don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
And then I started to do all right.
Sort of a little bit of a free ticket for them, wasn't it? Like, we'll get on the back of this kid. Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, yeah, a second, this guy's kind of doing all right here.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy from local Tweedheads, Bill Chaffee, is 5-time world champion. I'm realistic. I'm not going to beat someone like that who's already been in the sport, way different injury levels, but an amazing athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're over there training.
Yeah. Loving Switzerland.
Yeah.
One day I'll have to show you the video of the downhill we did. There's it's mad 4.5 minute video of, I'm just coming down this, so Lake Geneva's on my right. It's just this mad downhill and really, really tight little roads, and it's getting dark, and I'm just hammering in my hand cycle at nearly 80 k's an hour, dodging in and out of the traffic. And the guy that filmed it was a local bike shop owner, and he's riding behind me holding his phone, and then every now and then he has to put it down and ride to catch up. And then he starts filming it again, and it's so I was like, I wanted to try and do the YouTube thing, and so I did motorbike videos, and in fact I didn't have any idea. I just wanted to do cool stuff for people. And then when I started flying planes, I did little videos of flying the plane, and then the dirt bike, and then we had a jet ski, and then the go-karts that Andrew and I got into, because Andrew was mad as two-cart snakes.
Yeah, easy.
Everything, let's do it. All right, let's go. Like, what are we getting? So then, we bought go-karts and jet skis, and then so we'd go, we did a trip to Perth, and we took the motorbike, the go-kart, the jet ski, and we're meeting all these people. And then I did a show. I was on a basketball court inside on the WR, mate, doing wheel stands, and stop, do a little U-turn. It's just, mate, I'm telling you, basketball courts are pretty slippery with a dirt bike when you're trying to do a wheel stand.
Yeah, I was going to think.
And then you got to put the front end down and not fall over.
Yeah, and then balance as well. Keep me going. So yeah, you were running around doing all that as well.
Yeah. And then the racing came along, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of enjoying this triathlon thing. It's so new, and I want to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
And met some really cool people. Richard Coleman, dual Paralympic medalist, and he's like, yeah, I'll teach you how to push a race chair.
Yeah.
So the race chair for us is you've got to be fit, but it's technique. You can be the fittest, strongest guy in the world, and then if you don't know how to push it, you ain't going anywhere. And a perfect example of this is there's a guy named Jets Platz. He's a Dutch guy, right? So I did 11 hours 53 in Hawaii. He broke the record and did 8:26.
Wow.
He was like 20-something overall out of every athlete. Like, this guy is a beast. So the very first time I ever met him was in London. We raced a triathlon, and Bill Chaffee, the Australian, had never lost a race. I'm hearing that Bill's 3.5 minutes behind going into the run leg. So the run leg's 5 kilometres, and if you're good, back then you could do it in around 14 or 15 minutes. And so Bill was pretty good. He could normally sometimes do a high 13 on the day.
Yeah.
And so, beast, absolute beast. He's 3.5 minutes in front of the current 5-time world champion. Right, well, 4 times then.
Yeah.
And then Bill caught and passed him and beat him by 8 seconds on that race.
Wow.
And it's not because Yates wasn't strong or a beast. It was pure technique. So when you learn that technique, you can relax and you go a lot faster.
Yes.
And so now Yates is this,
He never. That's it. That's not happening to me again.
Ever again. He's never been beaten since. And like I said, then he went on to do Hawaii after doing sprint distance
And
just
smoking it. 8 out top.
Yeah.
But what about that? That is an epitome in something's life. That would have been a turning point in him losing by 8 seconds.
Yep.
I guarantee you, in his head, he went never again.
Yep.
Never again. And that drove him. Now, if he won by 2 seconds, do you think he would have been as good getting that technique? Or do you reckon that win would have not as driven him or made him? We don't know, obviously.
Yeah. He's definitely a highly driven athlete.
He probably would have got there, but if I lose, I say it all the time. If I'm going out at the tail end of the field. If I set a goal for myself and I miss it by 2 seconds, filthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely filthy.
Yeah.
So that they're the hardest beats in my life. I've thrown an intercept pass on the hooter to lose the Premier Cup in the middle of the year. That still rings, and I was only 18 then. It still rings with me today. I still have nightmares about it, night terrors. So I'd rather lose. Yeah. No, just missing by an inch would drive me crazy. And I think,
you poor bugger.
Yeah.
I got the opposite. So I hadn't played AFL since year 6.
Yeah.
When I was at Albatross, they have an AFL team. So I'm playing footy again.
Yeah.
And, 16 and a half, 52 kilos to join the Navy at. I was tiny.
Yeah.
So I started to grow a little bit, started playing footy, still little, playing with the men in like a country league type thing. And once kicked the last 2 goals in the last minute and a half. We won that game. We won the final, not because of me, and then we won Father Matt Cup, which was like all defence teams play.
Yeah.
We just, it was amazing. We had this great year.
So you're getting cheered off.
Oh, mate, I'm hearing you. I went to the tribunal twice for being picked on. Because I was the littlest fella, Like the brawls after that, mate, were brilliant. You pick on the little guy on the other team, the bench is up.
That's how it works. But that's, once again, team.
Yeah.
They're real teams, mate. Yeah. So, hectic. But, so we've gone, where were we at?
So then I went from, when triathlon started being a thing, I missed out on Rio. I raced in some cool places, invested in something in France, and I raced in Italy, and I raced in London. Switzerland, Japan. I had a really good race in Japan. I broke my frame and fell out of my chair, climbed back in, still got third. And that's what I thought, there's another guy and I were racing basically for the second spot to go to the Olympics, and I'd beaten him 3 races in a row.
Yeah.
We had a stupid little time trial we had to do, and I was sick and broken wheels, and he beat me in the time trial, which was swim at a pool, drive, ride and run. Anyway, it still hurts. And then, so he got to go to an event that I didn't and got points that I didn't. So he was ranked inside the top 10. The guy's awesome. We get along so well. It was never his fault.
No.
And the problem was we're always pinched together instead of work together.
Yeah.
It was a head on head.
Yeah.
That doesn't make people go faster.
No.
Right? If we work together, you're a brilliant swimmer, mate. You really are. He still swims amazingly. He did really well in Rio.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's going to Tokyo. I'll find out in the next couple of days, but swims amazing. I could ride pretty well and I could run very well in comparison to people. So we should have worked together. And then there was a time where I went to the AIS. I paid for myself, mate. I'm like, right, I'm going. This is what I need to do. So I paid for about 5 weeks, I think, to live at the AIS. Met some amazing people there, man. Steve Solomon, the guy who's going to be the flag bearer for the Australians at the Olympics. I've still got one of his T-shirts that I've got. But when we were there, we started to figure it out. It's like, hang on a second. We'll both go faster if we work together. We don't have to be against each other, mate.
Yeah.
Like, help me swim faster. I'll help you run faster. Like, and then we'll both be better athletes. That's what we want. Bill's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
But you and I can be around for a lot longer. And then I lost the plot after not making the Olympics for Rio. Just, like I said, sat at home for a year playing PlayStation. So I just sat there, mate, and just, I didn't know where I was at. I was lost.
Yeah.
I was financially broke, physically broke. Mentally, I was slowly starting to crack. Like, I was, in a way, I was happy just to sit and do nothing for a while because nothing was clicking.
Yeah.
I'd put all this effort into being a diver, failed. Being all this effort into going to the Olympics, failed. And it's not a failure. They're lessons, and they're, what do you need to do from that to grow? Don't think of everything as a loss.
That's
think
right.
of it as okay, that's a learning thing.
Very hard to see when it doesn't happen. It's very, very at the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't see that. Hindsight, they speak about it now, but now looking back on it, you're like, that helped me to get here. But
100%.
at the time when it's happening, and I speak about this from losing my company after the GFC, after everything I've earned and working my whole life, not through lack of effort, you know, working 40, 50, 60-hour weeks, everything I earned out of rugby league as well, to have it all taken off me by someone else who's doing the wrong thing. It doesn't sit very well for you, but looking back on it now, I wouldn't be where I am now with my mental fortitude and my attitude without that happening to me more than once, mind you, as well. So the building industry, it's fucking terrible. But yeah, that you can't see it when it's happening to you, when you want it so much, you know what I mean? Like in that Olympic sport. So sitting at home, just doing that. And you search, like you said, you're sitting there, you got it inside you. You know what you got inside you, but you're just going, well, how did I get in this spot in my life? I'm too smart to be here.
Yeah.
Or what am I doing here? And then, but it doesn't, it's just a vicious cycle. And that's what my company's about, is about showing people who are stuck in there. And I was stuck in myself, and you speaking about that hole as well. And a lot of my friends and family are finding it. And I find it in middle-aged men. So how old were you when this happened, when you missed out? So would it have been, what?
2016.
6 years ago. So, yeah.
30,
So with,
35,
that's what I mean. We're talking about that. You're out of your teenage kids. You're meant to be an adult. You're meant to be at a certain place in your life. You look at it. I had to hit reset again at 31. I was borrowing $20 off dad. I was living rent free. You're saying you're at home, broke. Like that age group, I think it resonates with us because, you know, there's a lot of pressure, or not even much pressure. I think pressure within yourself to go, what? Wait, what? How am I sitting on my ass here after I've done all that? Shouldn't there be a fucking golden pot of gold at the end of it for me?
100%.
And when it's not, you got two options. Like you said, the power of choice. And sometimes it takes you a year or 2 years to make that other option, to choose that other option. For me, it took me 2 or 3 years to go. There was actually a day that I said to my missus, I said, fuck it, I'm done. This is me. I'm happy drinking piss and doing this all my, and I seen the look on her face, and she probably doesn't remember it, anything like that, but I remember saying those words, and that was like me giving up that day because I just had enough of just trying and getting fucking shit on or broken or not being what I was, or I let the little man in my head beat me. I remember those words that day. I didn't make a change that day, but I remember them. I remember them ringing true in my head, and I'll never forget them. I'll never forget them. So what are you doing? You're sitting at home.
Do you know how quiet that little man is when you win?
Yeah. And when you continue to win,
he doesn't say nothing.
He doesn't have shit to say. But like every day when you're trying to battle back, there was a consistent battle. And I speak about it a lot on my social medias, especially going through the journey and whatnot. I spoke about it, like little man didn't want to go today, but we got 10K out, or little man wanted to give up at 5K, or when I was even fatter, like, I got 100 meters. And, you know, so once people realize that you can talk about this stuff and they jump on board and they're like, oh yeah, and then they speak to you about it openly and you're like, see, you can beat him. But the more you shut him up, he has no voice. But the one thing that I do know is he's ready to creep back in as soon as you take your foot off the throat or something like that. He's ready to go, hey, I've been sleeping, but I'm awake now. Fuck yeah. Like
what are you doing? What are you doing? He's ready.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about it, and I don't have them up here. They're going to go on the wall up here along with photos of everyone, everything. But I write all my quotes. I love making quotes and stuff. I've got some on the board there that you've read. But one of them is about the little man, and it's just he knows your deepest, darkest secrets, and he's like a thief in the night. He is ready to steal your dreams and your ambitions. What are you going to do about it?
Oh, mate.
Because he doesn't go. He's with you until you die.
You're exactly right. And it's a choice. Do you listen to him, or do you make your own?
That's right.
And like I said, it was a year. It was a solid year.
Yeah.
And I only left the house for 3 reasons. Like, not many people know, but I don't mind. We're chatting about it, and we're here to help people. And I left the house for 3 reasons: food, weed, and to see my mum. My mum is the most important woman on the planet.
Yep.
And I would always go and visit my mum. So I lived in the town over from where she was. And people were like, why didn't you move home? I'm like, dude, my mum was so good. Like, I'd never do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I still need to be independent. I haven't lived at home since I was 16. Like, come on here. So, and then the Invictus Games came around.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't say enough of how important that was for that change. And then the very first camp I went to, I was like, oh man, look at all these people. Like, everybody's dealing with something. Why am I? And then Neil again, I remember having a chat to him. I don't know if he remembers, but I told him the truth. I said to him straight off the bat, this is what I've been doing for the last year, but I'm here and I'm committed. I'll give you everything I've got every time I see you. Yeah. And from that, I just getting better and better. Then that little fella started being a bit quieter, and then I started overruling him, and I'm like, no, we're going. We're going to do it. We're going to do this. And then becoming the captain, and then having all these drive. And then, you know, we'd never won a gold medal as a team sport at any Invictus Games. I was a part of the rugby team, and they did a really good documentary called The Wheeling Diggers. And it documents our journey from the very first selection camps to the grand final when we won. Yeah. And we beat the UK, which was undefeated up until then. That journey alone, we were a broken team until the final. There was internal little squabbles with the boys, and then, you know, we're trying to keep it all sorted. And this is, you know, we've got to get, but on that day, on that final, boys finally put it all together, put everything aside, and we're here to win. Timing. We're going to do it. And it's a great documentary. It brings tears. There's some great people in it. Yeah.
Where can you watch this?
I think you can only find it on YouTube now. It used to be on ABC iView.
Yeah.
Because ABC were the ones that covered the games. And then, I won 4 gold medals on the track. I got spanked in the bike on the hand cycle. It was hilarious. The American and the Europeans the American was in a whole nother level compared to all of us, but the 2 Europeans and they just beat me in the time trial and the crit. But look, it was a great experience. We probably thought I would have done a little bit better, but I didn't mind. They were better on the day, better athletes. And then it came to the wheelchair racing, and I'm like, all right, now we're in a little bit of our own here. Yeah. And then
I know how to do this.
All right, let's go. And it was great, home games. And then I met Harry, and I had my service dog Willow from Integra. And they're a whole nother level of awesome people. Yeah. That supplied, because you couldn't bring dogs to the games. So they supplied 12 dogs. So all the athletes from 18 different nations could go to a quiet area and be with a dog. I was very fortunate. The boys really looked after me. I got Willow. I've had her since then, 2.5 years now.
Sitting right behind us.
Yeah, laying down there, being a good dog as she is. Yeah. And she's helped a lot too. Yeah. Like when you feel a bit lonely or you feel like something's going on, just call her over and she'll give me. Dogs don't judge. No. They just want to be a part of it.
No, that's right.
And there's nothing better than having an animal. Yeah. Which helped heaps. But after the games, Neil's like, "What are we doing? Let's do Hawaii." Oh, hey, what? Ironman? Neil, you realise we're doing it? Okay, I'm in. Yeah. And then off we went. And then, I was like, right, no one's ever done the half Ironman and the full Ironman World Championships in the same year, because you've got to qualify at 2 different events to do it. Yeah. But being the current world champion, I get an automatic qualification slot for Hawaii. So all I had to do was qualify at one other event. So I'm like, right, I'm going to Texas. Then I've kind of done the 3. There's only 3 events worldwide to qualify for a hand cycle athlete. I'm like, if I do Texas, then I've done all 3, and I've done Hawaii, and I've done Worlds. So I'm like, cool, I can kind of say I've done it all. Yeah. So that was the plan. I'm moving from Tassie to Adelaide to be a part of the Invictus Pathway program, which is an amazing, on the back of the games was created. Yeah. And then, Veteran Sport Australia was so supportive. They're like, hey, we're getting veterans back into the sporting community. What can we do to help you? oh, you know, I could do with some funding, and then Legacy came on board, and there's all these amazing things that everyone came out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Like, let's get him there. Let's get this done. And then just sadly, like, so February of 2020, I got to do a really cool defence ski trip to Whistler in Canada. And I'm like, well, I swear, I've never been to the snow since I've been in a chair. I used to love it when I was an able-bodied, and all right, let's do it. Had an amazing time, got to do some really cool stuff, came back, and literally a week later, the world shut down.
Oh, with COVID.
And then I was like, all right, so keep training, keep focused, keep training, focused. What? There's no racing.
What are we doing?
Then the little man's back. You said it. He's back so fast.
Yeah.
Right. What are you doing that for? Well, you haven't eaten today. No, you haven't eaten for 2 days. What are you going to train? Going to go out and go hard? You go and train. Well, that was weak. What do you need to do? What are you going to... And then you're like, right. So you try to get that focus to keep...
Bounce, keep going. Yeah. But then he's... The little man's there and he's... Why?
Yeah.
Why?
100%.
Why? Is this your ego? What are you trying to do? You trying to look? You going to look good in the mirror? Why?
You're going to lose. Are you even going to be able to do it now?
Yeah.
Been training. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, look, you're behind. There's no point in going further anymore. You're behind. You're already behind. Just give up now.
Yeah.
So you haven't got enough time. You haven't got this. You haven't got this. You haven't done that. You haven't done it. Your food's not right. Blah blah blah. But wow. So that's when COVID happened. Hawaii's not happening. You're not going there. You're not doing the double. We're not doing the marathon.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Where are we going?
That was the hardest part. And again, it was only a few months ago, a conscious choice. I'm not racing anymore. That was the initial weight lifted.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not sitting on the fence in my own brain going, you should be training, you didn't train, you did train, you didn't train hard enough. Why aren't you doing this? Why are you not getting out of bed? Why aren't you doing this? Then you're playing PlayStation again. Then you're in a hole. Now you're supposed to be going to basketball. Now you're supposed to be doing this. Now you're doing excuses. And it just becomes this snowball because you're doing it for everybody else. Stop.
That's right.
Stop.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
And I think you said one word in there before you jump in there is the excuses. Is you start telling lies to people who you think will be disappointed in what your decision is,
100%.
and you're making that up in your head, going, "Oh, I can't go because of this."
And then you're projecting what you think they're going to think, and how do you know?
Yeah, you got no idea. 9 times out of 10, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
At the same time, they're just like, "You coming? No, you're not coming," and it's you're battling yourself.
Yeah.
So that decision can continue.
Yeah, mate, you're exactly right. It was excuses, and I've always said to Pete, my mate Peter, that if you do an Ironman, mate, I'll come and help you. So after his helicopter crash, he can't run properly. He can walk and do all this stuff. There's no way he's running a marathon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe we can put you in a racing wheelchair. You know, you use a recumbent bike that he pedals with his legs, and then so he competed at the Invictus Games and won medals, and he was very good at it.
Yeah. And
I'm like, so if we get you in a race chair, we can get this done, and he's not going to do it. All right, no way, he's not going to do it. So he rings me up. Yeah, Legacy's got me sorted, and Defence has helped me to get a race chair so I can do more sport and athletics. So DVA are amazing. As much as I've had issues with them, they are amazing. So many soldiers and airmen and sailors would be nowhere without them.
Yeah.
They are amazing. So don't get me wrong on the fact that I haven't had a good experience with them. They are. And so they've helped Pete. You know, he's back now being able to do an Ironman that he was never going to be able to do without their help.
Yeah.
That means I've got to come on.
That means you said yes.
I said, yeah. All right,
He's
mate.
called you.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, buddy. I'll do the Gold Coast Marathon, and I'll hang around for a month, maybe longer, and we'll get you in a race chair. We'll get you sorted. We'll get you pushing it, teach you technique, and we'll train together. And here we are, a couple of weeks into that. He's got his race chair. Sadly, the Gold Coast Marathon was cancelled.
Yeah.
But here we are. And then now I'm feeling, because I had a good chat with Pete, we're very close, and I said, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to. He goes, have you paid for Busselton yet? No. And, mind you, Ironman has, $2,500 of my money for 2 events that I can't do.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to Texas in June because we can't travel there, so there's that event money gone.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get them to let me push Hawaii back to next year, just in case the bug comes again.
Yeah.
And Pete, amazing again, just said, whatever we're going to do to get your mojo back, what is it?
Yeah.
And I said, no long distance stuff. Let me start with the shorter stuff again. Let me blow myself out on these short little ones, get a bit of power, get a bit of speed back.
Yeah.
Then we'll start working on it.
0.0.
Yeah.
And I speak about this, and I spoke about this back when we were just having lunch before, is about setting that 0.0, not chasing your former self. Now, if you've got a marker of how good you've been, and with someone like yourself winning world championships and dominating Hawaii and getting a win there, your marker is up here. All right, now if you've had time off and that, and you come back to one training session and you realise how far you are from point A to point B,
it's a long
and
way.
it's a long way. It is long, but then you go hard at it for 8 weeks, and you still only end up here. You're still, 75% off being your best. You start questioning yourself, going, "Am I ever going to get there? How am I going to get there? How am I going to get back?" And you might not ever get back there. But the way I see it is, it doesn't matter. And I look at this for all sports. For rugby league, after you win a grand final, how do you win another one is you forget about that grand final. It doesn't matter about what you've done. It's what I can do next. And setting that 0 right at the middle and going, all right, I just need to be better than that day before.
Yeah.
And like you said, growing, you've already said it to get your mojo back. You're disappointed with yourself. I didn't train, I didn't eat, I didn't like, You just need to get that first session. And that first short, sharp session, that's day one. This is my formula, 1, 1, 2, 3. And that's all that matters. And I repeat that over and over, whether it's days, weeks, months. So it means I get the first day done, and then my only goal is to get the next day done. And then I set a 2-day goal. And you were speaking about moving the goalpost along in your rides.
Yeah.
And then a little bit further. And then my last goal is 3 days to get me to Sunday. And then I go again. I make it short. I make 1, 2 days, 3 days. And then I transfer that into weeks. 1 week, 2 week. And then I get to week 4, get to week 7. By week 8, I'll be back. I'll be where I want to be. And it's all about hitting that 0. It's consistent. And I've made a comeback. I've been, not even a comeback. Let's not call it a comeback. I've had to deal with this about too many times to count, within business, within sport, within not getting selected in teams, within making stupid decisions with my ADHD. I don't have a stop, think, do. I do think shit, basically. That's how it works. You know what I mean? You do it, you think about it, you go, oh, the fuck, what have I done? And reap the consequences of that. So I've been on this journey that's just this up and down, and a battle with my weight and all that as well. When I'm bad, I blow out. But now that I've found, after the, returning back to who I want to be and not listening to anyone, blocking out all the noise, I'm pretty much set in stone where I'm going to be now. But the point of the story is that just that consistent battle and that back and forth. I've always now learnt that it just needs to be 0. If I'm ever lost, even if I've got a huge day at work, or this, I just go back to, all right, let's just get this done, and then we'll improve on this podcast tomorrow. I went from $15 Kmart speakers here to now we've got this and a nice mic and that. We went from, ask Lukey Bashara, he's my natural bodybuilding mate in here. I set up 2 chairs in the corner there, and they didn't have lights, didn't have anything. We're still doing the renos. There was shit everywhere. And he's looking at me going, "We doing it here?" I said, "We're doing it here."
Evolution.
You know what I mean? But that 0 and that stepping forward, and I find it just reinvigorates yourself again. If you consistently chasing what you have been and what you have got, or what I did have, and I had new cars, new this, and bells and whistles and all that shit. If I concentrate on that stuff, I just pissed off with myself or angry with myself. But not about what we have. I believe that our life is continuing, and it's continuing forward. And I stress out now because I think I've lost days. I said, how much more shit can I squeeze in every day? And I think by hitting 0 is definitely one of those days. And I think that'll help you finding your mojo again, especially with being someone, like I said, of your caliber, of what you've achieved. And I've spoken to my mates about this, guys who have played for Australia, guys who have, here we go. This is creeping out. Guys who have played for Australia, guys who are, top line jockeys, have won $1 million races and that. How do you replicate that feeling, or, how do you replicate that state of origin win? And they're retired now, and they're in our age bracket and our age group. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. It's fucking awesome what you've got hanging on your wall. But that's not your life. Your life is still happening. It's still ahead of you. So what else do you want to do? And it could have been easy as one of the boys rang up. He goes, I can't break 5.5 minutes running. And it was as simple as, all right, you're setting your goals too far. Don't listen to the 1 kilometre thing and go, oh, I didn't make it. I said, just turn that you know, the little voice that you get on your running apps or whatever you get, put it down to every 250 meters, and that'll hold you accountable what your speed is and shrink your leg. Next minute, 2 weeks later, I beat 5 minutes 30. How good. You know, and this is a guy who's played for Australia in rugby league, you know, and I just said, mate, that's great, but you got to get back to doing what you need to be doing and get moving forward.
When we've been chatting today, this whole zero thing is amazing. To me, when you said it, it was like, wait, hang on a second. Because everything you do from there is a positive.
It's a positive.
And then, okay, well, here's the new zero. And
That's
then if
right.
you have a little bit of a bad time or something goes on or whatever, life is going to kick you sometimes, it's still zero.
Yeah.
It's not negative anymore.
It's not negative.
That's zero.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then now you've said 1, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
How I can put that into my training moving forward, maybe going to Bustleton, maybe not.
Yeah.
Got some really good mates doing it. Pete's doing it. And I'm like, I mean, I'd like to, in the back of my head, I'd love to do it again. And I'd love to go out there and race with the boys. But if I don't have the mojo,
that's right.
It ain't going to happen.
But it's just that first day. That's all we need to bite off. We just bite off the cherry on the first day. And then you might not want to go the second day, but let's just bite it that day. And I guarantee you you'll be looking at it going, progress. This is fucking progress. I'm not chasing me tail. I'm not chasing me ass. I'm not, why aren't I here? Why aren't I there? And that's everything with this company as well. Mate, everything will grow from here. I mean, my website, I've poured as much heart and soul into it as I can, but I've only, same thing, poured as much finance as I can into it.
Yep.
And this, you know, as it grows and as we develop, I'm developing actually you might really like this. It's a pre-race or a pre-game, or sort of like a pre-training daily drink. So at the moment, we were talking about vitamins and minerals and eating livers, and I get up in the morning, I have fish oils, I have this, I have beta-alanine, blah, 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 blah. I have like 12 things to get me going and out the door. Now, I'm trying to combine that into one little sprinkle. And that'll be, you know, all your pre-workouts and that are so jittery, like, we've got to get going, you know, caffeine, high added. Yeah.
Let's go.
With our sort
your ADHD.
No, it does not. I'll tell you what thing. Now with our sort of sports that we're into now, especially yourself, we're trying to get that NO, you know, that nitric oxide and that blood level and keep your heart or your wattage, like you said, down. Yep. Now, if we can get that blood flow and wattage going smoother and, you know, really talk about getting, you know, that oxygen flow and all that and keeping that down, you can go faster for longer. And harder. And there's nothing out there like that. So where it's actually at the compound chemist now, but it'll be sure be good. But that's once again 1123, 1147. Last week I decided to write the formula down. This week it's in getting formulated. Next week I've already sourced someone to do the next stage, you know, and then I'll allow 2 weeks for that to happen, and then I'll set myself a goal for by 3 weeks. I want the formula. I want to own it. I want to be there. And I'll look back and then I'll be going, how the hell has a bum, washed up rugby league player, a renderer who has lost his company 4 times, talking this, showing you that I've just developed a drink that could change sporting history. You know what I mean? And I'm by nowhere means the smartest man in the world, but I'll fight for it and I'll fight to die for it. So
one of the guys I was in Invictus Games with has a saying, and he has like a little company and a little thing that he does, and it's broken, never beaten. And that's you to a T, mate. Like, how many times have you been broken by the companies, the footy, all these things? I'm not beaten yet.
No.
Like,
but that little man's there. He's
that's just got to keep. And the other part we haven't really touched on in a way is that mental health.
Yes.
You know, it's a tough one, mate. Like, and you've got to have that fortitude to have done what you've done. Everyone's going to have bad days. Everyone's going to have bad moments. Where does my choice come from what you got to do? And there's heaps of stuff out there that people can do. And one of the problems with defence is that, you know, we've had so many suicides from people in more than what we've actually lost in battle. And it's funny because during the Invictus Games, I met a guy, Mike, and he started an app called, that's why I'm wearing the red 6. Most people think it's red socks, but it's red 6. And it's just that he created an app for military personnel that they can get on and chat to people. Yeah. And it's like, how you feeling today? And you got these little colours, and, you know, like the best thing is they make the choice to download the app. Right, step 1. You can even put this into your formula. 1, you've done it. Okay, then the next one is you talk to someone. Yeah. And then the 2 is that...
Or you read something that someone's... and then Dave Phil will be, okay, now I'll put an import in. and get something back. I speak about mental health all the time, and what I speak about, the one opportunity that you get, it might take someone, well, let's not put a time frame on it, but let's just say it takes someone 6 months to download that app. Now you've got that one opportunity, or one of your mates reaches out to you. Now I'm good because I'm good with words, and I understand a lot of mental health stuff, and with ADHD and whatnot, I understand dopamine and a lot of stuff within the brain purely through having to learn it through all my fuck ups. But yeah, it is, I tell you. But some people reach out to you, and it's taken them 6 months to get there, to reach out to you. Now, if you fuck up that opportunity that they're trying to do, they're back to point zero. It's going to take them another 6 months to get there. And same with if they reach out to a mate who's not equipped to handle it, or they don't know. They're like, they clam up themselves. You know what I mean? They don't know, what do I do? I don't know how to react on it. Opportunity gone, wasted, back to square one. And that can be the difference between that. So yeah, something like Red 6, it's in your own time, I guess, as well. But like you said, putting in those steps and being able to think, and defense people, you're speaking with people about situations that they know about, that they've been in. It's not like you're coming to me and speaking about the times of war. Mate, I've got no idea. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can't help you. I don't, So yeah, mate, I'm all about that. I'm all about presenting that opportunity, and our age group as well is very, very hard, area. Like I said, that 25 to about 40, 45 now. We're growing up on the back of hard work from our old boys. That's what you do. That's how you do it. You 100%. Don't whinge about it. You don't complain about it, which is great. I've got no dramas with that as well, but I've got a little opening for speaking about it, but I've also got a little opening for don't be a bitch, which is the next fucking generation coming through.
Let's not go down that.
Yeah.
To me, and I'll say it out loud, is that they don't understand consequence.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
They don't have it.
No.
It's like they do whatever they want to do, and there is no consequence.
No, that's right.
We had it.
Yeah.
Our fathers, they are workers. That whole generation, they work. That's what they do. I mean, my man's in his 70s and he still kicks into a drain every now and then. I'm like, Dad,
my old boy's still rendering.
Like, come on, mate. Like,
can't stop him, can you?
No, you can't. No. And then you look at our generation, I reckon we're about 70-30.
Yeah.
70% of us, we're workers. The other 30 are the dole guys that are on the dole.
Yeah.
They're never going to change. That's them, right? They'll never leave the country. They'll never experience what life really is.
Mind you, being on the dole back when you were 16, 17, that was the easiest thing to do ever.
I've never been on it. I've always worked while I was in defence. But then today, I just feel that there's some great kids out there, but there's also a lot that don't understand consequence because we've gone this so soft in society of like, hey man, and look, I understand that people want to do things and that's great for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to push that on me.
Correct.
This is how it is. And, my man used to say, I used to do this when I was a kid. And then I've literally been saying it to kids. I'm like, mate, when I was your... I'm like, oh my God, that was my dad. Really? I just...
Got it, yeah. Yeah.
And it slipped out so easily. And I'm like,
I don't know, but I think there's a great opportunity as well to grab that next generation and show, hey, look, let's, they're screaming. I've seen some kids out there at football training at 18, 9-year-olds, or even kids who've jumped onto my stuff and my stories showing that you can get up and go, and they go, mate, I didn't even know you could do this. I didn't know you could run or train everything. I just thought this was the pathway. And I'm like, no, mate, you can choose. That power of choice. You can go this way, you can go that way, you can make bad decisions. You don't have to drink piss with all your mates and party and post shit on social media like get your ego boost in your hell, man. You can choose to go the other way. And I guarantee you, I wish I would have started when I was 20. I wish hindsight, once again, if I knew this formula, what I do when I was 20, I would have been well on my way. But I probably wouldn't have known the formula if I had the formula back then. So it's a catch, that whole sort of thing.
And better late than never.
Yeah, but that's it. But yeah, just the mental health side of things with men, it's a very touchy, very, very hard thing. And that little man, like you said, will creep back in at any stage. And look, we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting better at it. And that's what this podcast is about as well. We've had some great people on here. Jimmy Lapo sharing about, he just won the WBL Masters Light Heavyweight Championship. And he came from, just drug abuse to checking himself into rehab And then now he's come back and come out of it and whatnot. So, yeah, that age group, I think this is going to be a great opportunity to speak about it and whatnot.
Yep.
So another thing that I want to do, mate, I'm having such a ball. I could sit here for another 3 hours and go with you. I want to know about your training and your food wise with someone like you. So what training do you do? Like how do you go about getting fitter? Basically, like who writes your program? You've said you've worked on swimming, you've been to the AIS, you do all that. But what's a daily training session for yourself?
Well, I guess we'll go back to when I was training for Hawaii. I
guess,
yeah,
that'd be good.
It's a bit harder, and most of that training I did here in Tweed Heads.
Yeah.
Well, not here, but in Tweed Heads, just down the road.
Yeah.
And so we kind of had a half a plan. So the coach was amazing. He's a good mate of mine from 226 Multisport. So he's an Ironman coach, and he just kept adapting things for the wheelchair and my arms, because you can't do the bulk of what you do with your legs and your arms when it's just your arms. Because when I finish training, well, I've still got to get around. I've still got to transfer. I've still got to drive.
Yeah, right.
I've still got to do stuff.
I didn't even think of that.
If you cook yourself in a session, and then I'm cooked.
Yeah.
Right? And so we went, okay, we need to find a happy medium. And I found with swimming, for a perfect example, of had a really hard program. I'd be like, do these sprints and do these things and do that. And I'm like, I'm not really getting any faster. And I'm like, yeah, I'm faster over a short distance. But in an Ironman, you're not going to win it in the swim. You need to get out of the water going, woohoo, let's go. I'm warm. I'm ready to ride.
Yeah, right.
So I found for me what ended up working best after I had a really good chat with Craig Walton, who's an ex-Olympic triathlete. We grew up in the same town, and he works here at Bond University. Amazing. And, I'm super happy that Craig took the time as well to let me come to a few of his swim squads. And he, while he's got a mad thing going with all his crew, he took the time to help me out. And he said, the best advice I could give you is that let's swim bilaterally. So that means breathe on both sides.
Yeah.
The more oxygen you're going to get in, the easier your muscles are going to work while you're swimming. Right? So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I said, I can do that. I just haven't really trained for it. So that became one of my main focuses. And then I ended up just doing, my swim sets would be 8 400 meters, because I was like, all right, 8 500. So it was a 4K swim set. So I knew that I'd do 500 meters reasonably hard, and then I'd put paddles on, which makes you go faster, but it's a lot harder resistance.
Okay.
So then I'd do 500 of that, then 500 normal, 500 of that. And I found that my overall time of the 4Ks was getting faster, even though I could do sets where I'd be doing 10 hundreds on, 2 minutes or something. That's about as fast as I could go back then. And then I'd be like, okay, I'll try and do a 500 at race pace. Well, what is my race pace? What is my pace going to be over nearly 4 kilometre swim? And then I was like, I feel really good getting out of the water after 4Ks of doing the 8.5s. And it worked. It was good. I could go home, and then maybe I'd do a little session in the afternoon, maybe some stretching, and then it'd be the big one was, the main two things I did was swim and ride, because the ride's going to be the hardest part of the whole thing. 180 kilometres on your arms with 1,800 metres of elevation or whatever it was. And
180, eh?
Yeah. So it's like, and I'm like, right. So we started doing 60K rides, 80K rides, 90K rides. Then it was like, now the shortest ride we're going to do is going to be 160, but we're going to go hard for 60Ks, like way harder than what I'm going to be racing at.
Yep.
And then we ended up doing, every week we're going to do a 100K ride, and then we're going to make that increase by 5 kilometres every week, so that you're not going to go from 100 to 110. And so then we do 160, one around 80 or 90, and then one at 100. And then we worked our way up. So funny enough, mate, the longest ride I'd done before Hawaii was 125 Ks.
Wow.
I'd never even done
hadn't branched out.
No. But I knew
you got it,
what I could hold for that.
Yeah.
And then even Pete, sometimes you do that little thing we were talking about, and then I realised I'll just let him go. I don't need to chase him, because that's not what I'm training for.
Yeah.
And he's helping, and he's doing it to try and drag that little bit extra.
Yeah.
And so during the race in Hawaii, at the 130K mark, I yelled out loud, woohoo, the longest ride ever. At 140, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
150, I said the same thing. At 100, all the way to the finish line of the bike leg part, I said it out loud. I was like, "Ooh, that's my new longest. That's my new longest. Let's go."
Yeah.
And then into the run. But coming back to training, so I didn't use the race chair very much. I had a lot of problems with my race chair. The wheels were catching and you could only use one size tyre. And I'm like, I need to get this thing working. So we got the frame was recut, and re-welded and shaped to fit bigger wheels in it. And then I got into it maybe 3 or 4 times and I'm like, right, I've got my technique and I'm going to have fitness. And once I get into the chair, I'm going to have over 7 hours to get it done. No matter what, I'll get this done.
Yeah.
And so I just made sure I had my technique right. And over years of pushing, doing the sprint triathlon stuff. And, you know, I got to train with some of the best people in the world, mate. Marcel Hood, Richard Coleman, heaps of names. I could go through them all. But these guys, and everybody is so friendly. Like, because I'm not trying to race them. They're like, yeah, we'll give you a hand. You're just that triathlon guy. Like Kurt Fernley was amazing the first time I met him. You know, and he's like, oh, yeah, I can give you a hand. And I've got some old wheels I could probably help you with because yours are pretty bad. And when you're talking guys like that are famous, basically, Kurt, everyone knows who Kurt is. Yeah. And, you know, and I said to him the very first time I ever met him, I'm like, mate, your sporting achievements are amazing, but walking Kokoda on your hands, you had my respect forever. Yeah. I'm ex-defense. And then, you know, like, he's been amazing too. And then all those people that help you get there. And so I was like, okay, cool. Race chair will be fine. I'll get it done. Yeah. I need to focus on the bike. So I tried to train in the middle of the day when it was the hottest. Really? As hot as it could be. That's when I'm out there. And what food am I going to take on the bike?
See, I'm a little bitch when it comes to that with my 3 a.m. It's fucking nice.
I ain't getting up at 3 a.m. And see, my problem is, why do I get up at 3 a.m. when I've got all day to train? Yeah. This is why, you know, we're going to it later on, is not even on here, but that's another mentality that I need to change. But I need to be heat confident. I need to be heat worthy in Hawaii. It's going to be hot. It's going to be windy and it's going to be hilly. Yeah. And the roads at Tweed Head are rough. There's lots of climbing there. Yeah. And it was hot. Yeah. And even though I didn't do the long stuff, I got my food in. So I had like special gels and I tried 3 different things. Yeah. Then I found that one felt better in my belly. That one felt okay. Nah, this tastes great and it works well. Okay. So throw the others out. And that's what I'll train with. And if I'm going to eat every 45 minutes to an hour, then when I'm training, no matter how I feel, I'm eating every 5
That's what I'm going to do.
Every hour. Yeah. And then so when I got there, I'm used to it. I'm used to sticking food in every day. I'm used to drinking. I'm used to pouring water over the back of my head. You know, yeah. I trained the way I wanted to race. Yeah, sport specific. Yeah, and food. Because a lot of people don't do that, do they? Yeah, food was tough. Food was tough. Getting that right. I tried. It was macros, I think it was called. Yeah, the food. Something, I can't. It was like these basically meals like, put in. Yeah. Horrible. Half of them would heat, half of them wouldn't heat. And then I'd be like, I can't eat that. And I tried Hello Fresh, I think it was called. It's so much wastage, mate. Every meal comes in a packet. You got to throw half the stuff out. Yeah. It takes you 45 minutes to make the meal. Yeah. Why wouldn't I just get a normal meal and cook it? Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, when the meals were done, they were great. Yeah. But the amount of wastage, the amount of stuff I was throwing out, everything's individually packaged and everything was, and I'm like, nah. And then so I literally would eat brown rice, salmon, chicken, vegetables, and that's all I had. That's all. That's it. It was easy. Yeah. I could cook it in a couple of minutes. I come home, I'm tired. Yeah. Didn't want to deal with it. Yeah. Like, I've got to do something with Willow. She needs to go for a run. Or I've got to throw the ball. I don't know. Yeah, I'll try to throw the ball with like a dead arm, mate. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. The poor thing. Like, I need quick, easy meals that are nutritious. Yeah. And then that was what I just got. These little cups of brown rice. That's in the microwave. Veggies in the microwave. Bang. Put them together. Bit of meat, salmon. Simplicity. Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing with it. Today's thing, everything is processed, or it's like you said, there's a million things. Oh, you got to have a million things in here. I base all my diet these days on 3 ingredients. I'll change them up, but they're 3 ingredients. I'll go meat, salad, tomatoes, or something like that. You know, I think I told you about 90% animal diet, and it works absolutely sensational for me. But I'm a lot of fish, a lot of seafood. It's lighter, lighter in my gut. Salmon, love me salmon. Me too. Just works. I work much better on it. My body, my inflammation in my body is a lot less. You know, I need a shoulder reconstruction. I'll hang out for that until, you know, I'm 60 because you only get one of them and they only last 20 years. But I've been able to manage what I want to do and how I want to do. I've even been able to, like I said, go back boxing through diet.
and through inflammation markers and through the diet that I'm on as well. But yeah, people overcrowd it with today's fast food attitude, and there's nothing good about anything you can order out there. As soon as there's this and that, there, blah 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 blah. So, but mate, I'd imagine for you, like you said, like if you train, how many days a week were you training?
6.
6 days a week. So how?
Got to have a rest day.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, because you're all arms. That whole everything you're doing is distance and arms. What about, do you get clean? Do you bang neck, everything, shoulders, arms?
Yeah. So then you just, and you're exactly right. Like I didn't realise, I didn't research enough, but maybe some of the food I was eating was helping with that.
Yeah.
But like you could do, say if I did a 4K swim that morning and then Pete and I went out and did our 60K hard ride that afternoon. I come home and then sometimes trying to transfer, like I've got to transfer to a chair in the shower.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you miss that, then it's a whole nother level of putting a bigger effort in to get up off the ground. And, did I just damage my skin? Because your skin is everything in a wheelchair. You know?
Yeah.
If you take skin off or you damage it, that's it. Like it could turn into a pressure sore. It turns into all these things. There's a guy training with us up here now. There's a Paralympic wheelchair racer. He won a medal in London, and he got a mark on his skin. Poor bugger didn't look after it properly. He's lost a leg.
Wow.
So he's not only in a wheelchair, he now is an amputee in a wheelchair. And it's changed his whole, like he was 8 years old or so, 6 years old when he got paralyzed, I think it's called, and so paralyzed. So he's kind of, he's grew up with it. He's fine. Next thing you know, you take that leg off, balance changes. He's pushing his chairs different. Like it's a whole new level of disability for him. People
don't think about that either, mate. It doesn't cross your mind at all. But yeah, muscles, everything changes. Your whole structure, and you got to retrain all over again. So yeah, man, I can't even imagine what your arms are feeling like after trying to train for Hawaii.
It's tough.
Yeah. They're solid though. Yeah, they'd be out here, wouldn't they?
Yeah. They were a bit big. It's funny, sometimes I put like a training shirt on that I used to like train in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like floppy. And you're like, wait, so my arms used to fit in there?
Mate.
Well, and now, I'm so glad we met, because now this is my new zero. Today, right here, right now, is my new zero.
Unbelievable.
And then I'll move on from this.
Yeah.
And whether I get back to racing again or I just want to do it for health and mental fitness, is because that's what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Prince Harry said at the Invictus Games, it's mental health is a fitness.
Yes.
You train the rest of your body, why aren't you training your brain?
Yeah, exactly right.
Zero, wherever I go from here will be a positive.
That's right.
And if I don't, well, then that could be my new zero.
That's exactly right. People have got a problem with being an amateur again.
Yeah.
People have got a problem with getting out of their lane. Like, I don't understand it. It's a risk of being embarrassed, or it's a risk of, but once again, you're not racing anyone. No, people don't care out there, you know what I mean? The ones closest to you care, but they care about you. They don't care about your performance. So hit reset, people. Go again.
100%. Listen to the man.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
Mate, it could be your job, could be anything, except for the boys who work for me. Please don't leave me. You're all my most valued employees. I can't do what I do without them, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
But all my boys are great at their job, and they love their job as well.
Yeah, I couldn't have done Hawaii without Pete and you.
That's right. The team is just sensational. But yeah, don't be afraid to hit reset. I mean, we got so much more living to be doing. And people watch my social media, and I notice it sometimes. One week they'll watch it, next week they won't. But they'll come back 3 weeks later, and you know what? I'll be doing the same thing. It'll be exactly the same post that I did on Monday last week. It'll be me scanning in to go to the gym. Shit doesn't change. All right, it's just it might change in my head that all right, I'm not where I want to be. I've got to go back to square one. But I just go back to square one and it's just repeat. And mate, biggest thing I've ever heard. One of the best sayings is, pay your ticket and get on the bus. I mean, you might go to the job might pay you $10. It costs you $7 in a bus fare to get there to earn $3. But, just pay your ticket, get on the bus. And, after time of repetition, you end up owning the bus. That $3 accumulates and you're good. You know what I mean? But if you don't pay your ticket, you don't get on the bus, you don't go nowhere.
And if you don't get on the bus, you don't see other opportunity.
That's exactly right. And you don't know where we're going to go, mate. Look at us. Look at us. This is a prime example of sitting here right now. I'm pumped. I nearly want to go out and run a million laps around the block after speaking to you. That's just me, like the emotional journey that we've gone on and getting to know each other. But without losing everything and getting here, and then, well, there's another story within here as well with COVID. Just before COVID hit, and I was, going through my battles of being huge and whatnot, but I had a travel surf company that I'd poured 4 years and all this money into, Neverneverland.team. And it was all about going to the majestic places outside of fucking Kona, going to all the islands that you're meant to be doing and surfing there and hanging out with the locals. And just as we're about to leave, COVID hit. Everything that I put into this, it's still sitting there. I can still open it any time, but you can't have a surf travel company with
can't travel
when you can't travel. Can't have anything. So
mate,
once again,
I'm the first guy that's coming, mate. We'll get a bodyboard,
mate. Let's go. Take you straight to Noosa Lombongan. The boys will love you. I'll tell you what. I'll get you some tubes over there that you'll be lacerations they call it, so don't come off. But it just picks up, it comes out, but it shoots straight into like a bay in the side, and there's just. They got pontoons there, and you just stand or swim on the pontoons, and boys actually get spit out and nearly touch the pontoons, and you paddle back out. It's unreal.
I'll tell you one quick one before we go there.
Yeah.
Surfing story. I was in the Navy, went to New Zealand. A really good mate of mine was a Kiwi diver, and they're tough as nails, mate. But so I'm on an Australian ship. He's there. We're catching up, and he's like, "We're going surfing." I'm like, "Oh, I don't have my board, mate. Like, don't ask me why I didn't have it on the ship." But he's like, "It's all right. I got one for you." So we go to the base, we pick up his board, we grab another spare board, and we're on our way to North Piha. So it's this amazing black sand, big keyhole. You paddle through the keyhole and you go out. And so Rangi, his name was. And so we're driving along. We pull up in the middle of this street, and he goes, "Hey, sir, can we borrow your surfboard?"
No.
And it's like the captain of the ship, and he looks at him and he goes, "It looks like you've already got it." And I'm sitting in the car going, "He said this is what he asked this guy." It's the captain's board. He's like, yeah, you can take it. Thank you. All right, off we went, mate. And then, surfing at PR was you've seen that black sand and stuff. But it's just, that's the surfing community. That's, take my board, mate. Like, off you go.
Oh, yeah. All right, this thing's having a wee out. Let's wrap it up, mate. I'm absolutely stoked. Matty Brumby, ladies and gentlemen. How good. One of the best podcasts I've done yet. Like I said, any given chance, give us a like, share, subscribe. Without you guys, the channel doesn't grow. And if you like the content, of course, put a comment down there. You can find Matty on Instagram. You can, Google his name and you can find what he's done if you want some inspiration. He's got his YouTube stuff out there as well. You've still got the jet ski and the motorbike and all that.
It's all there, mate.
Go check that out. Yeah. Check out the story on the rugby team. Winning that for the first time.
Wheeling diggers.
Look, I'll have all the links to all this stuff in the comments section or on my social medias. I'll find it all. And we're also going to do, if you don't mind, I'll pull apart your Instagram and all these videos. And throughout the podcast, I'll just throw up stuff so people can watch this on YouTube as well.
Perfect.
Stoked. All right, there it is. Thanks guys. Woo!